So, good morning, guys. Welcome to our session in here. Am I audible to all of you guys?
Yes, Lord.
So, hi, Abdullah. Hi,
I,
Moni. Should we wait for 2-3 more minutes, guys, so that other learners can join?
yeah, it's
Okay, let us wait for 2-3 more minutes, then we will start. Okay.
sure.
So, good morning, guys. Welcome to our session. Good morning, Dinesh. Good morning, everybody. Abdullah, Dinesh, Molly, Rajesh, Shaban, everybody. So, I hope that all the sessions that we had, that your batch had with me, actually, we had two sessions up till this moment. The first session was actually about creating an end-to-end machine learning algorithm on the given data set. And what I expected from that first session is that there is a limit to the amount of problems that you can solve. Even when you go in, it is not that every month or every week you would be creating predictive machine learning algorithms or something like that. So technically, to be honest with you, there is a limit to the number of problems that can be solved, to the number of predictive algorithms that can be created, because it is a really long case study. It takes a lot of efforts. It takes a lot of time to go into that particular field. It takes a lot of time to understand what is being done in there, right? So it is a very time consuming process. But the most important part that I wanted all of you guys to be clear with is the approach. So whenever there is a particular predictive machine learning algorithm that is being created, there are some methods that are being followed in there. Okay, there are some methods that you are expected to understand. There is a workflow. So generally, as I told you, wherever a predictive machine learning algorithm is created, there are total approximately 14 to 16, 17 steps in that complete workflow. Like total 14 to 16, 17 steps are expected to be followed depending on the use case, depending on the problem statement, depending on the data architecture and all the other things, right? And believe me, each and every step that comes up in there is time consuming. So what happens is that when we try to create that predictive machine learning algorithm in Python, I was giving you the data. I was giving you the problem statement. I was giving you that this is the algorithm. Or that is the algorithm that we are expected to create. I was giving you the direction. But to be honest with you, when you would be working in industry, even nobody is going to give you the data. Are you getting my point, guys? So it is not the fact that the data with which you are expected to work, that data would be given to you by somebody else. So you are expected to take the responsibility that in SQL, our second project was in SQL, right? So it is your responsibility to get an idea about the data architecture that is present, right? What are the tables? Which table represents what thing? How can you perform a join? Then what could be the relevant data? Then how will you extract that data? So even getting the data itself is a challenge. Like it, I have seen that it takes approximately 15 days to 21 weeks. I mean, 21 days, 2 to 3 weeks in industry to just gather the data. And that too, the data that you have gathered is not correct. You're not sure. That is the preliminary stage in data gathering. So you are expected to evaluate it again and again whether the data that you have gathered is it according to the standards that you are expecting or not. Could you have extracted that column as well, which you left, which you thought would not work or something like that? So it is a very time consuming process. So whatever are the steps in creation of a predictive algorithm in industry, they are very time consuming because there you are working on real world scenarios, right? So I have one experience in my resume. I don't know if I have shared it with all of you guys or not, but currently I'm working at Edelweiss. But before working at Edelweiss, I worked at a company. I worked at a startup named Zdally, Zdally. The name of the company was Zdally. So that Zdally company was a startup based in Austin, Texas, and they have, I don't know whether they have it right now or not, but they had an office in Bangalore, India, and there was a great number of people working in Indian markets as well for them. So it was a startup which was established by a person named Raj. He completed his graduation, like BTech and MTech dual degree from IIT Mandi or Bhubaneswar. I don't remember right now. It's been, but that person went to United States. He established a company there, and that company was mainly into creating a CRM platform for petrochemical industry clients. So the problem statement was, so first of all, it was a really good product that he created, right? He and his company created. The thing in here was that all the top petrochemical industry clients across southern United States, like Motiva, BP, Shell, Petro 7. Like in India, we have IOCL, BPCL, HPCL, right? Naira has joined recently. Then there is Geo Petrol from Reliance Petrol, like that. But similar to this, there are other companies across US And whatever companies I told you, Motiva, BP, Shell, Petrosim, these are top companies in United States for petrochemicals. So these companies were making use of a CRM platform. And there was a company, they had a requirement that we are actually facing a issue in adulteration. So what station owners used to do is that they used to mix branded fuel with unbranded fuel, right? They used to buy cheap unbranded fuel locally, and then they used to mix that branded fuel with unbranded fuel so that more profits could have been earned. So what was happening is that the company was got not getting the needed royalty. It was leading to loss in customer loss of money for the clients, as well as the image of the company was getting tarnished because of the deteriorated experience that the clients were having, right? So all of these things were affecting the client seriously, and they wanted us to create a predictive machine learning algorithm which could help us in getting an idea that what are the station owners, or who are the station owners who are co-mingling in petrochemical industry. That is called as co-mingling, means which means adding common fuel to the branded fuel, right? So I was the only person who worked in there. I actually extracted the raw data from SQL Server databases that was available in there, right? Then I cleaned that data, I pre-processed that data, I backtested several machine learning algorithms on the data with which we were working. And after all of these things were completed, then we tried to deploy a predictive machine learning algorithm into production finally. So to be honest with you, I worked there for 6 to 8 months, and I personally think that the problem statement was complex, but it was not that complex. It could have been much more complex, right? So this is what I want all of you guys to understand in here, that when you work in industry, like the projects that I am giving you versus the projects that are there in industry, obviously there is a difference, but I am typically focusing on just the predictive model creation part. So at the end of the day, wherever you work, right, wherever you work, you will always be expected to create predictive algorithm, right? So that aspect of your profile would definitely be covered up in these projects which I'm sharing with all of you guys. Okay, first point. Second point in here is that I am giving you, now let me explain you the architecture of the assignments or projects that you guys are expected to complete. So please pay attention in here. So there are 3 projects that I have finalized in here for all of you guys. Okay, 3 projects. All of them are more or less of the same level. So it is not the fact that one of the project is very simple to complete and the other projects that are available in there, they are very complex. It is not like that. More or less, they are of same level. And one project that I have taken, it is from marketing industry. One project that I have taken is from finance industry, and one project is from HR industry. Is this clear to everybody? One is from marketing, right? One is from finance, and one is from HR. Is this clear to each and every one of you guys? The domains of the project,
Yeah.
right? Now, after that is done, the next thing in here is that there is a Word document that I'm sharing, right? There are 2 things. First of all, what you guys are expected to do. Second is the data. So I Word document and data file would be shared to you. And in some cases, I have given you the link from where you have to download that data in the Word document itself, right? In the Word document itself, I have given you that particular part. So so the first half of our session up to 10 a.m. at least, that is totally focused on discussing what you guys are expected to do for the project, how you are expected to submit the project, what are the things that we are expecting. So it is not only the live coding file that we are expecting you to submit, but apart from that, there are some other things that you are expected to submit in here. So let us get started, guys. Let us quickly get started. So you will be able to, you are expected to create a project report, right? Which should have these many things. And it is not mandatory the fact I have added a lot of things in here. And to be honest with you, you don't exactly need to do these things, right? But I have just given you a outline how you can create a project report, because there are a lot of learners who have asked me that what should be included in the project report, right? So you are not there in here from a college, so you can avoid this. So respective college, and here you can have organization, whatever you are expected to do, right? The next thing in here is that, just a minute. Yeah, the next thing in here is that what are the things that you are expected to submit for the given project, guys? The first thing in here is that you are expected to submit a report, and you are expected to submit a Jupyter notebook or a Google Colab notebook, which would act as your coding file, right? So the reason why I'm asking you guys to submit report in here in a Google document is because Jupyter Notebook is something that would be able, that would be able to tell us whether you are expected, whether you are knowing the coding skills or not, whether you have actually solved that problem statement in Python or not. So that is why coding file is important. But when you work in industry, nobody is interested in getting an idea about the code that you have written. And this is the brutal reality. They are not interested in the code that you have written. They are interested in the fact, or these guys are interested in the proper fact that what are the conclusions that you have derived? What are the visualizations that you have derived? So the most important thing that I want all of you guys to write in report is that at every step, what was the approach that you used and why you used that approach. For example, if you are identifying the outliers and then you saw that there are outliers in the data, then the next thing in here is that you were expected to remove outliers from the data with which you are expected to work. So you have to write all of these things, that I did EDA, in this each column there were outliers, or I found out this, and the data showed that after this particular point there were outliers in the data with which we were working. Are you getting my point, guys? Then if you try to move ahead with standard scaling method, you are expected to tell that when I did exploratory data analysis, this is the thing with which we were expected to work, right? This is the reason because of which I have chosen this particular scaling method, right? So all of these things are to be included in the report, right? All of these things are to be included in the report with which you are expected to work. I want your approach. So generally what happens in interviews is that they are giving you the data, like I'm giving you the data, they are giving you the data, they are giving you the problem statement, and then there is an interview round that is happening in which you are expected to explain the complete work that you have done. So it is not that you will randomly do something on the data, you will get some results and you would be selected. So it is not always about the metric values. Even if there is one learner who is getting 75% accuracy and one learner who is getting 80% accuracy, but if you are not properly able to explain the approach that you have used, even if you get 80%, I personally don't think it will really help you. Is this clear, guys, to everyone? Are all of you guys
Yes.
clear with this? So approach explanation is expected in a report, and in a Jupyter notebook, proper coding is expected, which demonstrates that you actually perform this and the results with these things, right? Then you will have to prepare the presentation for each part. This is something that you can omit, right? I will add it in here, optional. It is depending on you whether you want to create a presentation or not, because when you work in industry, you submit the report, right? But when you have to explain your work that you did to other team members, like I am working at the central data team at Edelweiss, there is an options team, there is intraday trading team, there are so many other teams. So when you want to display your work, you need a presentation. So if you want, you can create a presentation as well, no issues with that, right? And the report is something that you have to submit to Goovi, so you can get in touch with those coordinators that where you have to submit the report and what all, right? Now revenue prediction, right? This is what you are expected to do in here. The first thing in here is revenue prediction. So what happens in here is that there is a CSV file which has 2,240 observations or customers with 28 variables related to marketing data, right? So more specifically, the variables are providing you insights about the customer profiles, the products that are being purchased, the campaign success or failure, the channel performance, right? So these are some of the things that this particular data is providing you. Are you guys clear on this? These are the things that the data is expected to provide you. So let us go through the data. This is the data file. I will share it with you. Don't worry about it. So see, these are the total columns with which you are expected to work in here. Now, what happens in here is that this is the ID. This is the year of birth of that customer. This is the maximum education. This is the marital status. This is the income. This is the number of kids that are present. This is the number of teenagers that are present. This is the date when the customer was actually approached. Then recency, was that customer approached recently or not. Then MNT wines, MNT fruits, MNT meat products. So what are the things that the person bought, right? All of these things are available in here. So I think there are 28 columns, 26 up to variable this and 27, 28. 28 columns are available in there. So to discuss this information with all of you guys, I think you can remove the ID column. I don't think ID column will be able to give you some relevant information about the data. So you can ignore one column. You are left with just 27 columns. Year of birth, maybe you can use it, or maybe you can use this year of birth column to calculate the current age of that customer. So year of birth in itself may not be able to help you, but when you derive a new feature from the year of birth, which is the current age, approx age, so you can do 2023 minus whatever is the year of birth, then you will get the approximate age. You might make a difference of 1 year, but that's acceptable. Then educational qualification is a categorical column, right? So maybe you can practically replace it. So whatever is the lowest education, you can give it 0. And whatever is the highest education, you can give it n, or whatever is the lowest education, you can give it 1. And whatever is the highest education, you can give it n sequentially, right? Marital status is a nominal categorical variable. So for this column, you can maybe do one hot encoding, right? Then there is income column. So you can maybe standard scale this income column on a scale of 0 to 1, right? Even the age column that you will derive from year of birth, you can try to standard scale that. Then date the customer was approached, try to research on this, that how relevant information can be derived out of this date customer. And if you are not thinking that relevant information can be extracted, simply remove this column. This is what I'm suggesting to you. Okay, this is my approach. I'm just having a general discussion with all of you guys. And similarly, you will have to, I will not decompose all the problem statement. I will expect some things to be done by you, because if I do all the breaking down of the problem, then how will you guys individually think on that? Right? So take your time, no issues on the time. But first thing in here is that you try to get a really good understanding about the data with which you are expected to work, right? And my approach in here is that if a particular column is not something with which you guys can work properly, then simply remove it, right? Then simply remove it. Is this clear, guys? आता ठीक है दुखता है का कमी दुखता है तेवढंच दुखता है जाऊ करायचं everybody guys clear on this?
Yes.
Yes. Now after this is done, the next thing in here is that what are the tasks that you are expected to do. So out of the 27 independent variables, you are expected to find the variables that are very important in predicting MNT Wines column, right? MNT Wines is basically with which you are expected to work here. So this first thing is actually coming under feature selection, right? It is something which is coming under feature selection because you are expected to predict the features. Read it, take your time to read it. Now, after this is done, is this clear to all of you guys? Is this first problem clear to all of you guys? What you are expected to do? There is an MNT Wines data set that you guys are expected to, column that you are expected to predict in here, this one. So don't standard scale this column. Okay. Now, after this is done, the second thing is that since there are so many input features, there is a marital status column, which is categorical in nature. If you one hot encode it, again, the dimensionality of the data would be increased. So whatever are the features that you identify which are very important in predicting the target variable, you would be expected to apply principal component analysis, which is a prominent statistical data pre-processing technique, which is used to reduce the dimensionality of the data with which you are expected to work, right? So you are expected to apply principal component analysis and you are expected to try to reduce the dimensionality of the data with which you are expected to work in here, right? That is the second method. And what is the third method, or what is the third thing that you are expected to do? Third thing in here is you are expected to draft the ML model with the help of MNT Wines dataset. So you are expected to create multiple linear regression, SVM, and decision trees, and you are expected to write inferences about each of the models, which of the models are working well, which of them are not working well, and so on and so forth. So is there any question that you are having with regards to the project one?
So basically, in the first one that you're saying, out of 27 independent variables, find the variables which are important. So basically, you're saying that I need to find which are the variables, which means which are the columns important in predicting the MNT ones, right?
Correct. Feature
Okay.
selection.
Okay.
So all the features will not have a good correlationship with the target variable MNT Wines. I personally think that there would be only some features in the raw data without pre-processing which are having relationship. And then whatever are the variables that you detect in there, those variables are expected to be used and principal components are expected to be created. So I am writing this because it may happen, I don't know, it may happen that there are still a lot of features which are having a good relationship with the target variable. And last is very simple. You are expected to create 3 algorithms in here. In SVM, there are different kernel functions. So I am expecting all of you guys to give me an explanation that why you used a particular kernel function. So you are not expected to move ahead with this scenario like let us try linear kernel, then let us try polynomial kernel, then let us try sigmoidal kernel, then let us try RBF kernel. No, it is not like trial and error. Field of machine learning is hardly like trial and error. You are expected to do proper, rigorous exploratory data analysis, and based on the results of that exploratory data analysis, you have to give the reasoning that why you are expected to use that kernel function or why you were provoked to use that kernel function in SVM algorithm. SVR actually, right? Final question, any doubts on this finance project, revenue prediction or something like that? Any questions on this, guys?
No.
So this is one of the project. Okay, I will close this. This is one of the project. Now the second project with which you guys are expected to work in here, right? It is this respective college or organization, whatever you want to do. Again, this is optional. The first part is exactly same. It depends on you if you want to create a report or not, but I would really appreciate if you guys create some reports. Okay, now what happens in here is that this is HR analysis, right? This is based on HR data set. So you guys are expected to predict absenteeism at work. So read the title of this, absenteeism at work prediction, right? So just 1 minute, there is a zip file in here. That is the reason I'm not able to open it up. Just 1 minute. The data with which you are expected to work, that is zipped. So I will have to unzip it and then we can have discussion about the data with which you are working. So this is the data set. You will receive it in the zip format itself, right? So read this particular part. This is enormous HR data set with which, just a minute. Yeah. So this is HR data set, and like if you guys are feeling that the project then on HR would help you, then you can definitely use this particular project for your work. So there are 8,335 rows in the data. The number of columns are less. So it is really relatively simple to analyze this data, but have a look at this part that you have a lot of data. You have the luxury of big data in here. So if there are null values in the data set, and if they're in small proportion, you can afford to remove them. If there are outliers, you can afford to remove them, right? That is the good part about this data set. So the data set contains employee number, their name, their gender, their city, their job title, their department, store location, business unit, division, age, length, and the number of hours that they were absent. So obviously what you are do is you're expected to predict how many hours a particular employee is expected to remain absent. So employee number, I don't think when you're creating a predictive ML algorithm, this A column will help you. You can simply remove them. I mean, remove that. Even surname is something that you can remove. Even given name is something that you can remove. So 3 columns you can straight away remove from your analysis, because I personally don't think that there is any relevance of these columns, because you are not expected to find that person with this name is expected to have more business hours or something like that. That is not your work. You're expected to find the patterns in the database on the input features which are relevant. So I think the first 3 input features are something that you can straight away remove from your analysis. Gender is a very important feature. You can one-hot encode it. You can also replace M with 0, F with 1, or F with 0, M with 1, depends on you. So I don't think one-hot encoding would be a good idea. Just replace it in here itself so that there is a better analysis. City, you can one-hot encode definitely. Right, job title is something that you can one-hot encode definitely. Department is something that you can one-hot encode. What I personally recommend you is that in a bakery, the baker will work by common sense. In an accounting firm, the accountant clerk will work. So what I feel is that there would be a huge amount of correlationship between these 2 columns, job title and department. So there is a statistical test called as chi-square test, which is used to predict the correlationship between guys. Come on, do you know chi-square test? Anybody? So basically, chi-square test, guys, is something which is used to predict whether the two categorical features with which you are working, are they correlated to each other or not, right? Between two features, not two random features, Shilpa. Chi-square test is used to predict the correlationship that is existing between two categorical features. Like Pearson's correlation coefficient is used to find if there is any correlationship between two numerical features. In a similar way, this particular part is used to find, chi-square test is used to validate whether the two categorical features with which you are working, are they correlated to each other or not. So what I personally think, like I have not worked on this data set to be honest with you, but still what I personally think in here is that this particular portion with which you are expected to work in here, I personally feel that this particular given portion will definitely have a huge correlation. The job title will definitely have a huge correlation with department. So check it. First of all, validate this hypothesis that I'm telling you. And once it is done, if they are correlated to each other, just use the job title or just use the department. Whatever you are comfortable. I think job title should be used in here because both of these two columns are nominal categorical columns. So you will have to one-hot encode them, and then it will severely increase the dimensionality of the data. The data that you're thinking is not what you can say dimensional, high dimensional. I think definitely it will increase in dimensionality. Store location is definitely important, but again, store location and city, see, it may happen that they are correlated to each other. May happen, I'm saying. So even use chi-square test for column E and H. If they are correlated any one of the column, if they are not correlated to each other, then you can probably use both of these two columns. Then division and business units. It may happen that these two columns are correlated to each other. May happen, I'm saying. Again, you have to use chi-square test on division and business unit and check whether they are correlated to each other or not. Right? So there are three things that you have to check. First is between department, job title, and department. Second is between city and store location. And third is between division and business units. Age is something that you can standard scale. Length of service is also something that you can standard scale. And absent hours is expected to be as it is because it is the target variable. Right? So I think I have tried really hard to explain you what could be done on this data set. Now, whatever methods I have told you, I'm never saying that these are the only methods with which you are expected to move ahead, or this is the only approach that you are expected to use in here, because what I personally feel in here, to be honest with you, is that this could be one of the approach. But this field of data science, field of machine learning is always the state of the art field. So I'm giving this data to 10 members in the session, 7, 8, 10 members in the session. So what I feel is that everybody has their own intellect, everybody has learned this course curriculum. So you will see the data from your own perspective, which is really good. So it will happen that some of you guys are coming up with something which is giving better performance that nobody among us has expected, right? But approximately this is the workflow that you can use in here, and then you are expected to create ML model, right, to predict the number of this with minimum mean squared error and RMSE and maximum R squared score or R2 score. So you have to create multiple linear regressor. MLR, you have to create random forest regressor, RFR, and you are expected to create MLR with PCA and RFR with PCA. So first try to implement these models without principal components, then try to implement these models with principal components. And a really important point about principal components is that you should give proper reasoning that why do you think that the number of principal components should be this much itself, right? So this is what I'm expecting from you. Like, for example, why only 3 principal components? Why not 4? So you have to explain your logic that why you felt that three principal components are something which should have been used in the given question. Why not four? Okay. Is this clear to all of you guys? And write your inference on the models that you have prepared. So any questions on the second one, guys? Anybody, guys? Any questions? Dinesh is saying no, good. And after that is done, the third project that I have completed in here, right? That third particular project is really interesting. So here it is organized. It is about finance. So maybe you might, some of you guys might like this particular project. So what you're expected to do in here is, again, that first part is very simple. Now the next part with which you are expected to work in here is that it is credit card fraud prediction. Right? Are you guys having a look at the title? It is about predicting whether a credit card fraud would be made or not. So the first two problem statements that I've given to you, they are regression problem statements. The third problem statement that is available in here from finance industry, it is guys, classification problem. So have a look at this, read the description. So it is important that credit card companies are able to recognize fraudulent transactions and that the customers are not charged for items that they are not purchasing. So the data set is made by credit cards in September 2013 by European card holders. It contains the transactions that occurred in 2 days. 492 are fraud and 2,84,807 are not fraud transactions. This is highly unbalanced data. You can see 492, 2,84,807. So it is highly unbalanced data, right? And this is one of the most important problems in classification algorithms, right? That the data with which you are expected to work, it is highly unbalanced. So the data is something that you can get from in here, right? The data set with which you are expected to work, you can get the data from this particular link in here, creditcard.csv. You can download this data. Let us download it. Just give me 1 minute, I will log in here. So you are expected to create an account on Kaggle, and believe me, Kaggle is a very good source to get started with the work. Right, I have been working with this particular platform, Kaggle. You can get the data anytime in here, free of cost, and the data with which you are working in here, it is very similar to real world data sets. So this is the data, creditcard.csv. What happened? Just a minute. This is the data. And in this particular data set, you have time, right, which may be useful, which may not be useful. And you don't even have the information that what each and every variable is representing. Then you have amount and then you have class. So you don't know what is V1 representing, what is V2 representing, and this is what machine feels. So this data set is basically something that is explaining that how you have to train the machines. That is an aspect which is very well explained by this particular example. Because see, what happens is that when you see each column, you can get a gist that this column should not be negative, this column should have this particular thing and that. But machines are not something which are knowing these things. Do you think machines are knowing these things? Absolutely no, right? Machines are not at all knowing these things with which you are expected to work in here. Not at all. So what happens is that you have to analyze these features and you have to pre-process all of these features as if you don't know anything. So you are expected to remove the outliers, you are expected to standard scale them, you are expected to find that these features are having with the target variable class, which is 0 and 1, right? So there is nothing that you can do in here apart from the amount column which you can standard scale, and apart from the time column with which you can do something. So you have to apply normal principles, you have to do exploratory data analysis, and it is just the plots that will help you, or it is just the statistical correlation coefficients that will help you to get an idea whether the features with which you are working, are they correlated or not, or are they expected to help you or not, or something like that. Apart from that, there is no help that I can do, right? Is this clear, guys, to all of you? What you are expected to do on this data set? So first of all, the most important challenge that all of you guys have in this particular data set is that it is highly unbalanced data. So what I thought is that if I'm giving you a classification problem, then it would be a really good idea to make sure that you guys are knowing what is the most important problem in a classification algorithm, which is class imbalance. So I'm expecting all of you guys, right, to handle class unbalanced problem in the best way that you can. Maybe synthetic sampling, maybe creating a subsample. I don't know. It depends on you, which method you personally think you have to move ahead with. Is this clear, guys? Any questions on this? Now, after this is done, I think we can move on with the problem statement that is available in here. Please make a proper account. Will the details about this data be given on Kaggle? Like, I don't think so, Shilpa. I don't think so. If they wanted you to give the details, no, then they would have written it in the column itself, or they would have given you the data dictionary itself. The only thing why they are not expecting you to give the details, or the only thing that only reason because of which they are not giving the column links in the details, because they want you to know how machines are getting that data. So machine is not knowing that what this is representing, what that is representing. Machines are not knowing any of these things. Is this clear? Now, after this is done, the gist about the problem statement, everything is done. So out of the 30 input variables, you are expected to find the variables that are most useful in predicting the target variable class. You can try implementing PCA. I mean, obviously in all the methods I have written in here, but it is not just for this one, even for the previous two problems, I'm not guaranteeing that PCA help in improving the predictive performance, right? So in all the problems, problem one, problem two, problem three, in all the problems, what I'm expecting from all of you guys is that you will prepare the data, right? With PC, without PC, prepare the models. Only three columns of this data can be we can use, right? No, you can use all of them. Why only three? You can use all the columns for predictions. So if the column name is not given properly, if it is given like V1, V2, V3, it doesn't mean that you cannot use that column, right? It never means that you cannot use that column. You can use all the columns that are available in here apart from the class column, which is the target variable. So what you are expected to do is that you are expected to prepare logistic regression algorithm, SVC, which is supported with the classifier, and decision tree classifier, and write a detailed explanation on the predictive performance of each model. Another thing in here for all of you guys is that when you are preparing different ML algorithms on different data sets that are available in here, what I personally feel is that it may happen that the data pre-processing steps for the algorithms are different, that the way in which you are preparing the data for the ML algorithms, it is different. For example, for logistic regression and SVC, you are expected to do multi-collinearity tests, you are expected to remove outliers. But both of these two steps are not important. I'm not saying it will affect the data in a negative way, but they are not important for decision trees. So it would be a far better idea if you create 3 different Jupyter notebooks. So the initial EDA is something that you can do. After that, when you are pre-processing the data or when you're preparing the data for one machine learning algorithm, then I think it would be a really good idea if you do that in separate Jupyter notebooks, because the data pre-processing steps for all the Jupyter notebooks are different. Right? So let us try to move forward with the discussion in the second half. Let us try to take a break and we will resume at 10:02 with the next round of discussion on this. Okay, 10 minutes break for all of you guys. Thank you. let us get started, guys. Right? So first of all, guys, any questions that you had in all the three projects? Anyone, guys? So the most important fact in here is that you can complete any one of the project. I mean, the bare minimum requirement that we have for all of you guys is to complete one project. That's it. But still, I will recommend all of you guys that it would be a really good idea to complete one classification and one regression algorithm, right? Another thing in here for all of you guys, another thing in here for all of you guys is that you are also expected to give an explanation about the best possible metrics in case of this classification algorithm. I forgot about this. So in case of a regression algorithm, it is really sorted, right? In case of regression algorithm with which you are working, it is really sorted. It doesn't make any sense in that particular part. But in case of classification algorithm, there are questions that are being asked in interviews that what is the best possible metric with which we are expected to work in here. Are you getting my point, guys? This is something that all of you guys are expected to work with. So what I want all of you guys to understand in here is that there are some cases when accuracy is a really good metric. There are some cases when precision is a really good metric. There are some cases when recall is a good metric. And when I gave interview corporate organizations, there was a proper rigorous discussion about this particular part. Are you getting this part, guys? Are you getting this particular portion? Are you getting this particular part? Everybody? So you have to provide an explanation for all the things that you are doing in every phase. So I will strongly recommend, as a mentor, I will strongly recommend all of you guys to please move ahead with any one of the regression one, because there are two regression problems available, but also do one classification problem so that you can get a better idea about all the things with which you are expected to work in here. Right? Now, after this particular portion is done, if you guys are not having any significant questions in whatever we have discussed till this moment, then I think we can move ahead with the live coding session, right? For the sequel, if you guys remember, I told you that we will have a definitely interesting live coding session on SQL. I will download all of these things and I will share it with the course coordinators. Okay. So I think let us get started. Let us get started with all the portions, all the things that are available in here. Download CSV. Okay. So please open your MySQL workbench, guys. And then let us get started with the live coding of some important queries and things in here. So the session, I have a really important part for all of you guys. The session that we are expected to have in here, that session is for project, right? Since we are left with good amount of time and since you guys are not having any questions, that is the reason we are moving ahead with this part. But the session that we are expected to have on Monday, actually next Monday is holiday on account of Gandhi Jayanti. So I don't know how can we guys continue on that day. Maybe we will have it on next Wednesday then, right? But whatever is the next session that we are having, that would be basically the last session, to be honest with you. And the next important part is that it is your responsibility to be aware of this particular part. It is your responsibility to come prepared with the list of your questions, because that session which we are expected to have, that particular session is actually about this thing, about your doubt clarification, right? Clear, guys, on this? So let us get started with this particular part. So if you guys remember the data set that we were having, right, the GUI data set, do you have that GUI database even right now, or how is it, guys? Is that GUI database available in your laptop even today, or how is it, guys? So that GUI database, this is that GUI database, right? So that GUI database is basically something that you are expected to work with in here today. So you have these many tables that are available in here, and there were many questions, and I think we would be just simply continuing with all the questions that are available in there, right? So that is something which we will move forward with. Now, there is a problem statement that I have for you guys. It might be simple, but yes, let us get started. Question 11. So you guys are expected to print. First of all, you guys are expected to write a query that prints product ID, then product name, then subcategory of the products which are for the products which are having no subcategory, or in which subcategory is not present, subcategory is null, and fill no subcategory in that place. And then you have to sort the order in ascending, sort the data in ascending order of product ID. So this is the question, and you can take 3 good minutes to type the query which gives answer to this. 3 minutes for all of you guys. So I think guys, I have received one replace. So you are trying to do it with replace, right? You are trying to replace the subcategory null value with no subcategory. Good, that is one of the definite one of the methods. But there is another function. Whenever you are expected to impute something instead of null value, no, try to use this approach. So product ID, product, and then there is police subcategory because it will give you the first non-null value. So if the subcategory is not null, then subcategory will come in here. Otherwise, there will be no subcategory as the subcategory, right? No subcategory as subcategory. We are expected to take it from products where subcategory is null, and then you are expected to order by product ID. So this is expected to give you the data, right? This particular part is expected to give you the data. So your query is exactly correct. Even my query is correct. Since there is no data where there are null values, we are not getting any output for it. But yes, the query is absolutely correct. Any questions on this, guys? You can write this query. I will recommend all of you guys to write this particular query. Now you are expected to have to join views with actual tables, right? So there is an example that I'm writing in here. Select A dot star, comma B dot payment type from weekend orders. If you remember, we created this view called as weekend orders as A. Join payments as B on A dot payment ID is equal to B dot payment ID, right? So this is a classical example of joining now you guys are expected to alter the view, altering the view. So write a query to change the existing weekend orders view such that we get all the weekend orders greater than 20,000. So earlier we were having weekend orders, just weekend orders. Now you are expected to alter that view and you are expected to give me the data such that is done. So 30 seconds, sorry, 3 minutes for all of you guys to write the query to alter that. There is a question that is coming in here by Dinesh Pranav. I have a question. I have 4.5 years experience in US healthcare domain, non-IT. Do you think I can apply for DA or BA or DS consultant role? If yes, how can you find the requirement related to healthcare? I think business analyst would be a better role in here. The reason why I'm telling you about this particular part is because when you go into data scientist field, you are expected to show data science consultant role. Typically you are expected to show some experience in IT industry, right? As opposed to this, what I personally feel in here is that if you are totally into non-IT, then BA is something that would be a better case for all of you. Right, Dinesh, are you clear on this? But do they hire me in other industry apart from the experience that I have? Maybe in insurance industry, they will hire you because insurance industry is closely aligned with healthcare industry. So there is a really good company called as Optum in which you can try. Optum is into healthcare insurances, so you can try in Optum. So now after this particular portion is done, no problem, no problem. So for all of your questions related to industry, related to your project work, please prepare a proper list and come prepared with the portion on next session. I think the next session would be on next Wednesday, because next Monday is a holiday on account of Gandhi Jayanti. So I think we would have it on next Wednesday, but still course coordinators will let you know the perfect decision. Right? So it should be like alter view weekend orders as, and then you have select star comma day name order date as weekday of order from orders where day name order date in Saturday comma Sunday and total order amount is greater than 20,000. So this should be your correct part, and then you can write select star from weekend orders. Right. So this is one of the possible way in which you can move forward. Now question number 12 that you are having in here is write a query to extract all the columns from customers table and add a column at the end to get the number of people in that country. So you have to use partition by clause in here. 3 minutes for this. So the first solution in here is coming by Dinesh, and I really accept that he has tried to use multiple subqueries, which I personally feel is a good idea to move ahead with, right? So what he has done is that he is selecting star, comma, he is selecting the count star of all the customers. But in here, you are taking all the people that are present in there, right? I want it country wise and add a column at the end to get the number of people in that country. So that is why this is not country wise sorting that you have done in here. So the correct answer in here is select star, comma, count of star over partition by. So that partition by is something that comes into picture. You have to partition it according to country. And it is represented as count from customers. So you can see at the end, the number of people in Australia is 30. If you scroll down, in Austria, it is 32. So it is country-wise count of people that you are getting. Partition by is the clause that you are expected to use in here. Right? Is this clear to all of you guys? Now you are expected to write another query, question number 13, in which you are expected to write a query to get the customer ID and their respective first orders. So what I want is that this customer has this first order, right? I mean, their respective first order date. So this customer ID or the person with this particular ID has the first order on this particular date, like that I want. And you have 3 minutes for this again. So exactly correct. The first solution is coming by Shilpa in here, where you can simply use the min function, right? So you select the customer ID and you guys can select the min order date as first order date, right? And since there is an aggregation function that is being used in here, you have to group it according to customer ID, right? Spelling mistake. So this is basically something that you can definitely use, right? Point number one. Second thing in here is that you can use select star, right? If you want to get all the columns from a min order date over partition by customer ID as first order. In that, what will happen is that you will get all the details followed by the first order date of that customer. So write the second query because partition by, this is a good example for partition by. Dinesh is also given the correct query. Second one, you guys can write it. Next question in here is question number 14. Write a, my bad. Write a query to create a stored procedure that takes city as input and gives all the details of customers right. So this is a really good example on stored procedures, guys. You can take a minute to go through this. So basically stored procedure, guys, is something that will enhance reusability. So I mean, once you create a stored procedure, then you can call it as many times you want. And by just simply changing the input parameters, I think everything should be good to go. So delimiter. Another important thing, guys, I want to answer for this question. Why do you think people are using delimiter? What is the reason why people are using this syntax at the starting? And it is a very important question, by the way, asked in different interviews. So why do you guys think that people are changing the delimiter? So delimiter is used, or that syntax is used so that the complete definition of the query is passed in a single slot to equal interpreter, right? To make sure that the complete definition of the query is passed as a single thing, we are using it. Run it, and after that, you can call it. Call procedure underscore one with New York. So you can see all the people from New York City in here. Similarly, you can call that for different scenarios. You can call it for people of Berlin. You can call it for Melbourne, right? It depends on you how you want to call it. So this is something that you can write in your laptop. And definitely stored procedures are something with which you guys would be expected to work. So it enhances reusability, it offers flexibility, it avoids the chance of human errors. Now there is next question, 15th question that I have for all of you guys. Question number 15. Write a query to create a stored procedure that takes minimum order amount and day name of the week as input. And it returns all the columns from orders table. right? So you are expected to create a stored procedure that takes input as two things. First is minimum order amount, and second is day name. And you have 3 minutes to solve this again. So let us get started, guys. Let us get started with the work that is present in here. So here you can do it like this. So again, delimiter, right? Then you have create procedure, which is orders week, day, proc, which takes parameter input parameter as order amount, which is float, comma, it takes weekday, varchar 20. And then you begin the stored procedure, which is select star, comma, day name, order date as weekday, from orders, where the total order amount is greater than or equal to the order amount that has been given. And day name of weekday which has been given to us is equal to, or you can say like day name of order date, sorry, it should be like weekday, and then you end it. So you can call this given stored procedure call orders weekday proc 8,000 comma Thursday. So on Thursday, the orders that are greater than equal to 8,000, I'm able to retrieve it. And similarly, you can retrieve it for any other combinations as well. Right? So you can take a minute. I will wait for a minute in here for all of you guys so that you type it in your laptop. And what I can tell you, what I can recommend you in here is very simple, that SQL is basically something with which you are expected to work with, right? So you are expected to be good to, like, whenever there is a SQL problem that comes up, you are first expected to be good to go with the ERD diagram. In ERD diagram, you will actually understand what that database is about, what are the entities, how they are related to each other, how they are connected to each other, and certain other similar things. After that is done, then try to read the problem, try to understand the problem. And my suggestion to you is that when you are a beginner in a particular tech stack, whether it is Python, whether it is R, whether it is SQL, try to first build the logic of your code using pen and paper properly. So properly try to build the logic. And once the logic has been developed, then try to think of other things. Then try to come up with some other things with which you are expected to work in here. Up till that point, don't even think that I will write the query or something like that. There is a proper step-by-step approach. And if you follow that, you will get confidence, then practice, and then you may omit that step for easier problems of creating the workflow using pen and paper. Otherwise, when I completed my data structures and algorithms class in third semester, we used to create a proper flowchart representation. And then for each block of that flowchart, we used to write the code. Is this clear to all of you guys? Other than that, the last 5 minutes that we have in here, I would really like to talk about the project work. So project work is very simple. And I think you guys are lucky that you will get 1 week break, since on next Monday we are not having any session. Maybe we will not have any sessions on account of Gandhi Jayanti. So the thing in here is that on next Wednesday, like till next Wednesday, you have 6 complete days, right? And I will highly recommend all of you guys to start your project work, because the session that we would be having on Wednesday, that is the last session. And in that session, you guys are expected to come with your questions. You guys are expected to come with your doubts related to project work, as well as any other general questions and doubts that you may have incurred after your post curriculum was completed, right? So there is nothing much that would come from my end in the next session. I'm expecting you guys to come prepared, you guys to take initiative of the session, you guys to ask me the questions, and this is how it will be, right? So anything regarding to project that you guys want to ask me today? So Athira, Dinesh, Molly, Rajesh, Shilpa, Abdullah, everybody. Anything? Dinesh is saying no. And as I told you, my recommendation, what is the submission date for the project? That is something that the course coordinators will let you know. but the deadline for you to come up with your doubts is next Wednesday, right? If we are not having a session on Monday, if we are having a session on Monday, then the deadline is Sunday itself. So you can ask the course coordinators, are we having session on next Monday or next Wednesday? Even I don't have clarity on that. But depending on that, we will conduct the sessions. I think Wednesday itself would be a choice that we will have. Any other questions or things, guys, that you want me to analyze? So I think then if you guys are not having any questions or any doubts, your batch is good to go. Right, so please make sure that you are getting the coding file, the SQL coding file from the course coordinators. Right, I will try to share this SQL coding file with all the course coordinators today itself, and also the project work with which you are expected to get started. Okay, so thank you everybody, guys. I hope today's session was also useful for all of you guys on a personal level. Right, thank you everybody. Thank you.